Welcome to another episode of We're Not Doing a Podcast. Now, for those who thought that we decided to stop doing a podcast, that is not the case, as Mark Weber decided to go on a lovely vacation to Italy. He looks fresh. He looks rejuvenated. Mark, how was your trip overseas?
Buonasera, Jared. It was absolutely phenomenal. I have not been to the other hemisphere since 2009 when I went to Israel with my family. So Italy was a lovely trip, definitely a bucket list destination. And if anyone has the opportunity, highly, highly recommend going. And fun fact, I am still not sick and tired of pizza. I had pizza before this podcast. Love pizza, cannot get enough of it, and enjoyed some really good slices in Italy. It's different in Italy compared to the US. I know a lot of people say like New York is better. Some people say Italy's better. It's different. Both excellent. Both superb.
My biggest concern with you coming back was that you were just going to be wearing scarves every day and you're going to be saying grazie to everybody. So it looks like you've gone back to your American roots. So that's good to see. So that's encouraging. Now, Mark, when you were gone, something pretty big happened with our New York Knicks. They won a playoff series for the first time in a decade, and now they are currently locked dead even one game apiece with the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Through two games, it has been an absolute dogfight of a series, as the series will now shift to game 3 on Saturday in Miami. And it looks like the Knicks gained some momentum a little bit towards the end of that fourth quarter to even up the series. But Mark, what do you think is the key to regaining the momentum for the Knicks headed into game 3 for the Knicks to win this series?
First off, it seems like everything happened while I was away in Italy. I mean, the Knicks won a playoff series
for
the first time in 10 years. AaronRodgers becomes a New York Jet, and the NFL draft happened. I missed a whole lot, but I enjoyed it. Obviously, like I mentioned, a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It was great. Aside from that, to answer your question, the key for the New York Knicks, you could say the statistical answer, which is three-point shooting. Biggest difference maker was that in game 1, shot 21% from 3, 40% from 3 in game 2. However, I think it's kind of silly to say this, but they need to make sure that Jimmy Butler is not coming back to the floor. Jimmy Butler dominated the Knicks all season. The best player for the Miami Heat was the key proponent in upsetting the number 1 Milwaukee Bucks. That's the key. Make sure Jimmy Butler is not able to play, because if he plays, entirely different series. If he doesn't, Knicks have a fighting chance.
It is kind of funny how you did mention when you were overseas how so many good things happen. So for our audience, if this may need to happen, I may need to send Mark to another country. So what would be your preferred choice? Would you rather go to China, to Korea, or to Australia? Because that may need to happen if all of these good things are going to happen for New York sports right now. But when it comes to the Knicks, I totally agree with you. Jimmy Butler, he's the type of guy who he can just go absolutely nuclear. And playoff Jimmy is a real thing. And you got to do your best to contain him. But I think the key should be switching up the lineup a little bit. I think with Quentin Grimes now back in the rotation, I think the Knicks should personally insert him back into the starting lineup and have Josh Hart go to the bench, only because I just think the bench plays better with Josh Hart, and that includes Emmanuel Quickly and Obi Toppin, who both have just not looked good at all in this series, and they're going to need all the firepower they can to ultimately win a dogfight of a series with the Miami Heat, because they are just such a physical and nasty team, and they always get to lose balls. So you're going to need all your skilled players to ultimately get the best of the Miami Heat, and Emmanuel Quickly needs to be better. He's got to be better, and he really has struggled throughout the playoffs, but especially in this series. I think the Knicks should personally make a lineup change and put Quentin Grimes back into the rotation. Would you agree with that?
I mean, do you really think that it's Quentin Grimes going back to the rotation, or just that him and Quickly need to step up? I mean, they were just really awful in game 2 and really haven't done a lot. Josh Hart was great, but I don't know about moving him to the bench is really going to solve that for the Knicks. I mean, Grimes and Quickly did struggle in game 1, so kind of messing it around. I don't know if you want to change around the lineup. It's more that those guys need to score.
Well, I think the key also is with Josh Hart, he's someone who moves the pace up and down the floor so much quicker. So I think that helps guys like Emmanuel Quickly and Obi Toppin just pushing up the floor quicker. Whereas Quentin Grimes, he has a good role where he's just more of this 3-and-D guy, where I think he would thrive in the starting lineup. Josh Hart's good in the starting lineup as well. But my key is just having as many guys as you can continue to play well, because Jalen Brunson, he's going to do his thing. Julius Randle, he's played well in his return to game 2. But you really need that 6th man of the year candidate, Emmanuel Quickly, to step up. And he's just not played well. And I just feel if moving Josh Hart into that role where it could help him in any which way, I just think that would be beneficial to this Knicks team, because you really are going to need every weapon on this team to beat the Miami Heat, because they are just such a tough team to knock off.
Does Josh Hart really need help? I mean, Josh Hart had a game that no Knick has had in the playoffs since Clyde Frazier in the 70s. Josh Hart doesn't need help. He almost had a triple-double in game 2. 14 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists. He's just incredible. But the problem is when you have Quickly and Grimes averaging 11 points per game in this postseason and neither of them shooting 40% from the field, that's the issue. I don't know if it's switching it up necessarily. It's more that these guys need to play better. It's not a lineup switch. It's they have to play better, because there's really no one on the Knicks roster that should be getting more playing time. I know that you're very keen to having Deuce McBride get some minutes, but it's a second round series in the playoffs. It's kind of tough to put in guys that haven't played that much in the playoffs in there. You have to have what you have in this situation, and those guys just need to play better. It's as simple as that. I don't know if a lineup change will do that. I don't think you should change anything with the starting lineup, especially based on how well this team played in game 2. But Quickly and Grimes really severely need to step up. And just for reference, Emmanuel Quickly shooting from 3 in the playoffs in this series against Miami, 13%. Quentin Grimes, 20%. That's pitiful. Pitiful.
There's no doubt that those two guys need to play better, and you hope that they can step their game up and have the Knicks ultimately win this second round series to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, a new guy into town who you mentioned briefly before, who was at Madison Square Garden over the weekend for a bunch of games, that is the one, the only Aaron Rodgers. He is finally officially a New York Jet. I still need to be pinched to actually believe this is a reality. Wearing number 8 for the green and white. It's just an absolutely beautiful thing to see. You're just as excited as I am.
Do not get his jersey.
I'm not. Don't worry. I'm not getting any jersey. Don't worry. I'm not getting an Aaron Rodgers jersey. No jerseys will be purchased by me. So nothing to worry about.
Top 3 worst jersey purchases you've ever had, just because I know I skipped it in a previous episode, and it may be a dark topic, but people who don't know you that well need to know this. Top 3 worst jerseys.
Well, I don't know if this is appropriate to say, but number 1, Steve McNair. And he's currently not with us, so rest in peace to Steve McNair. He was one of my favorite players growing up. So I have a Steve McNair jersey. That's one. Dustin Keller. I have a Dustin Keller jersey where when he played in a Jet game, his leg almost got amputated. And I have an Antonio McDyess Knicks jersey, and he was pretty goddamn terrible for the Knicks. So
you have to be one of the few people on earth that have an Antonio McDyess Knicks jersey. I've never seen one in New York in 20 years. I've never seen it. Where did you get that? Who bought that for you? What's the story behind it?
I know where I got it. I got it at our favorite store growing up.
Neil's.
That's where I got it from. Anyone who wanted to do some shopping back in the day when we were growing up on Long Island, Neil's had the best clothing to buy jerseys. So yes, for those who don't know, now you do. I am a curse when it comes to getting jerseys, and I will no longer be buying jerseys. But in regards to Aaron Rodgers, whose jersey I will not be wearing, it is exciting times for the New York Jets right now. The Jets have a very realistic chance to go and compete for a Super Bowl. But the question that I'm curious about is, who do you think, Mark, will benefit the most from Aaron Rodgers' arrival with the New York Jets?
So I went with an unconventional answer for the Knicks, and I'm going to go with another unconventional one for the Jets. And it's Joe Douglas. Because, like you mentioned, you've been waiting for the Jets to get a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers for pretty much your entire life. And you know it. Now, for me, it's not so much that, hey, the Jets got Aaron Rodgers, they're a Super Bowl contender. I have no idea whether that's the case. The Kansas City Chiefs are still pretty good. The Buffalo Bills are still really good. I'm not sure if the Jets are a Super Bowl contender yet, especially when Aaron Rodgers hasn't played it down for the New York Jets yet. However, it is an accomplishment that the Jets were able to build a roster that a superstar wanted to go to. That's a win. Credit to Joe Douglas for getting the roster set for a guy like Aaron Rodgers to want to play in New York. It's really impressive.
He deserves so much credit because right now, there's really just very limited holes on this roster. They've got such a loaded defense. You bring in Aaron Rodgers, he's got a bunch of weapons that he can throw the ball to. So there's just really nothing to complain about in terms of what this Jet team needs to do moving forward. Sure, you want to lock up Quinnen Williams, and maybe you'd like to re-sign a guy like Quan Alexander, but I like your answer when it comes to Joe Douglas. He deserves a ton of credit, but I'll go the more conventional route. I personally think the tight ends, guys like Tyler Conklin and CJ Uzama, who were solid for the Jets last year, but nothing earth-shattering. I think those two guys can really take off with a guy like Aaron Rodgers. We know Garrett Wilson's going to be a superstar. That's just an easy answer. But I think the tight ends, guys like CJ Uzama and Tyler Conklin, are going to have a very positive impact with the arrival of Aaron Rodgers. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch because he's got a boatload of weapons that he can throw the ball to. And I really cannot wait until week one. And that's the other thing also about with this Jets team right now. We're so excited for the schedule release when we've never been excited for that. It's going to be.
No, you were. Don't say that. The Rex Ryan era, 2010, you were excited for a Jet schedule release. Don't make it like you never were.
A decade feels like a decade in sports feels like never, honestly.
That's when I first met you, was before the 2010 season. That's how long ago it was.
It is way too long since that's have been any sort of relevant, and that's the last time they were in the playoffs. So it is time for the Jets to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender. You know how excited I am for some Sunday night football games, Mark. I mean, that is going to be absolutely beautiful. You know, we're going to be watching those games together. I mean, you know, how excited are you for some Sunday night football games for the first time in what feels like forever?
Now, here's a guy. That's all I want to hear. I want to see the Collinsworth slide with, now here's a guy called Aaron Rodgers going to the gang green from the Green Bay Packers to the New York Jets green. I mean, you got the theme song, Sunday Night Football, waiting all day, get to enjoy the day, finish off the night with a little Sunday Night Football.
Yes.
I mean, it's going to be great to see the Jets relevant. I'm not banking on them to win a Super Bowl. Like you said, it's been so long since they've been relevant. They have the longest streak of any team in the NFL to miss the postseason. Just want a postseason team. Just want to be relevant. And Sunday Night Football shows that you're a relevant organization.
You just want to be relevant? That's it? Oh, come on. Let's dream big. This team's got a chance to win a Super Bowl. Why not? Why not? I go for it all.
I want to know why.
You want to take
you want to know why? Because I've watched the Jets my entire life. It's called being realistic, Jared. It's called living on planet Earth. There's a reason why the team has not made the postseason since 2010. You have to be realistic. Now, it's not like saying, oh, because Aaron Rodgers is a Jet, his kneecap or his arm is going to fall off in week 8, kind of like Brett Favre did in the 2008 season. But you want a team that you can care about in week 17 and week 16. That's what you want. I mean, the Jets were relevant in October, and Jet fans were living on mountaintops, screaming off of mountaintops. That's what you want. And that's what you should hope for. If you think they're going to win the Super Bowl now just because they have Aaron Rodgers, who hasn't won a Super Bowl since the last time the Jets made the postseason, you're being a little ridiculous. You're being overly optimistic. This is the New York Jets we're talking about. Temper your expectations. As Larry David said, curb your enthusiasm.
I'm ready to get hurt again. I am 100% ready to get hurt again. And now transitioning to something that always hurts me. And right now, that probably is hurting you. Both New York baseball teams, my goodness, they are both just awful right now. The Mets getting swept today by the Detroit Tigers. They're 16-16. The Yankees are in last place in the American League East, 17-15. They're 9 games behind the Tampa Bay Rays. They're going to play them this weekend. It is really not a good time for both the Mets and Yankees. But my question to you is regarding both these teams. Which team are you more concerned with for the outlook on the rest of the season, Mets or Yankees?
Gotta be the New York Mets. I mean, I know the Yankees look terrible, and the Yankees, I'm more concerned about the Yankees years from now, especially because Brian Cashman will probably be their GM years from now. But this season, it's got to be the New York Mets. Granted, they had the 500 record, -1 run differential, and look at some of these numbers and where they rank in Major League Baseball. 19th in batting average, 21st in team ERA, 13th in opponent batting average, and 17th in run differential. This is not a good baseball team. This does not look like a team that is going to make a run in the postseason. And granted, they are somehow in second place in their division. The New York Mets, it's tough to be optimistic. It really is for the season, and for the biggest payroll in baseball, you should be concerned, especially as a Mets fan.
I am 100% concerned about the way this team looks right now. The pitching has
Console
just been
or freaking out?
freaking out.
The console part.
That's the reason why I'm not saying Kunzel, and the reason why I'm going to say the team to be more concerned with is the Yankees, is because I still think the biggest factor is the Steve Cohen factor. He is not going to allow this to continue to happen. Look, this year is
what's he going to do? Step on the field, Jared?
Well,
he's not hitting.
This year, there's an issue. But look, the Yankees right now, the American League East, it looks like they're done. They're not going to win this division over the Tampa Bay Rays. And
it's a good thing we're recording this, Jared.
They are hurt up and down that roster right now. And
it's May.
I know. I understand that. Trust me. And that's why I'm a little more concerned when it comes to the Yankees, because the ultimate goal for them is to win a World Series. And I do think they'll get things turned around this season, but they just don't look like a team that's going to win a World Series. Neither do the Mets, but the Yankees have guys like Willie Calhoun in their lineup, Jose Trevino. It is just not a good-looking lineup at all right now. There are a lot of issues with both these teams right now, but I really think at this moment, the Yankees are the bigger reason for concern, because it just doesn't look like it's going to get any better currently for the New York Yankees. So,
I mean, Jared, didn't the Mets have John Mayberry Jr. or whatever on the 2015 roster at one point in July? Baseball, the games have gotten shorter, but the season is still so freaking long. There's a lot of time. And I'll give you some redeeming qualities about the Yankees this season, and that's their pitching. And granted, Luis Severino and Carlos Rodon have not been able to stay healthy. Some encouraging numbers: second in opponent batting average, allowing teams to a 216 average, and 7th in team ERA with a 353 average. Numbers like that, and especially with a bullpen like the Yankees, and especially the way baseball's changing, where there's such a higher emphasis on the bullpen with guys like Michael King, Wandy Peralta, Rob Marinaccio. There's a lot of things to be happy with the Yankees. I know that there are people on Twitter that are Yankee fans that pretty much just want to scorch the earth, say that everything's over, there's nothing to live for because the New York Yankees are not the top team in the AL East in May 2023. The pitching looks really good. If Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton come back to the lineup, you're looking at a different roster. Now, granted, there are things they could have done in the offseason to help, like getting a left fielder. They're in a better position than the New York Mets right now. There's no doubt about it.
The reason why I say there's more concerns though with the Yankees is because the American League right now just looks a whole lot better. Look at the Baltimore Orioles. They're coming. The Toronto Blue Jays are having a really good season. The Tampa Bay Rays, of
But
course.
do you think the Baltimore Orioles could finish the season out above the New York Yankees? 5 years from now, Yankee fans should be very concerned about the Baltimore Orioles. I mean, Adley Rutschman looks like the next Buster Posey. He's phenomenal. He had one of the greatest rookie catching seasons of all time last year. A few years from now, they're going to be very good. 2023, when those guys are 23 and under, Yankees shouldn't be really that worried about them.
But I will say there are some other good teams in the American League this year. Look, the Astros are always a threat. Maybe the Texas Rangers with Bruce Bochy, they're off to a solid start as well. I'm just saying it looks like there's more competition in the American League to make the playoffs than the National League. The National League right now is just so watered down with a bunch of mediocre teams. That's why I just feel the Mets still have time to get things right. The Yankees could just put themselves in such a hole if they don't get healthy soon. They could be trying to fight uphill all the way till the end of the season. Now, they always have a run in them, but I just feel the fact that the American League is just better this year than the National League. That's the reason why I'd be a little more concerned with the Yankees. But when it comes to the
Mets be worried about the Dodgers, the Braves, Bryce Harper coming back from the Phillies.
The NL East
look good. I mean,
well, the NL East,
it's not like the NL is filled with schlubs, Jared.
No, I know, but the NL East it's over. The Mets are not winning the division. That's one thing that I will pencil on. The chances of the Mets winning the division, that's finished because the Braves are just an absolute force. The Mets' best hope is a wild card, but I just feel that there's more improved teams this year in the American League. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how the rest of the season shakes out for both the Mets and Yankees, because it is really not looking good right now. And to another New York team that things really don't look good and ended on an absolute sour note is the New York Rangers. What a massive disappointment for them, losing in the first round to the New Jersey Devils. That team had Stanley Cup aspirations, and to be eliminated that soon really leaves a bitter taste in a lot of Rangers fans' mouths. And the question now has become, what is the status of head coach Gerard Gallant? A lot of people are saying he should be fired. Some are saying he should get another year to coach this team. Mark, you and I were talking about this the other day. What do you think the Rangers should do with Gerard Gallant moving forward?
They absolutely should not fire Gerard Gallant. Second best winning percentage of any head coach in Rangers history. The only one above him is the last Rangers coach to win a Stanley Cup, Mike Keenan, who is one and done. So Gallant in 2 seasons has had pretty decent success with the Rangers. He should not be fired. He's only been the coach for 2 seasons. It's way too early. I know professional sports teams go through coaches like pairs of underwear. Gallant should not be fired. Give him another year. Give him another chance, because they just had the most unlucky matchup in the first round. The New Jersey Devils were always the better team than them. The New Jersey Devils beat the Rangers in the regular season 3 games out of 4. The New Jersey Devils have guys with a lot of playoff experience and one of the most biggest upcoming names in hockey in Jack Hughes. The New York Rangers lost to a better team than them. Do you fire Gallant for that? No. The Rangers had a great run last year. Do you fire him also for that? No. Give Gallant at least another year. Give him another chance. He's been one of the best Rangers coaches in recent memory, and still better than possibly Alain Vigneault, who took the Rangers to a Stanley Cup in 2014.
That I definitely agree with. I do think he is a much better head coach than Alain Vigneault. Sometimes, though, in hockey, it's so fascinating to me that it doesn't get talked about enough. Head coaches in hockey just get moved in and out like wildfire. The leash on hockey coaches, it truly is amazing to me.
That's because there's been a lot of analytics and a lot of people have done the data research that shows that the NHL coaches have the least impact of any of the main four sports teams, especially in a book called The Captain Class, which came out in about 2017, 2018. They actually discovered that. So that is why that is the case. But that still doesn't differ my opinion on the Rangers situation with Gallant.
I think they should keep him as well. I just think you got to bring him back for another season, but it will definitely be interesting.
Even though you said they should fire him to me the other day in private. You said they didn't win the cup. They didn't win a round of the playoffs. He's gone. Now you change your mind when you're on camera? Did I just convince you to change your mind, Jared?
He's on a short leash, though, going into next year. I definitely feel he's on a short leash to start next season. I think you do bring him back for the start of the year, but if they get off to a slow start, I think you got to make the change because
whenever like after 10 games, just get rid of him like Barry Melrose back in the day.
It could be after 20 to 25 games. If they just don't get off to a good start, then it may be time to make a change because
what if a bunch of guys have the flu and they can't play? Just fire Gallant if they have a bad start.
But sometimes in hockey, players just tune out coaches very quickly. I mean, look, I didn't think the Islanders should have fired Barry Trotz, but clearly
look what happened to them since.
Oh,
it was a first round exit.
It was a bad decision, but they must have felt something internally that the players were tuning Barry Trotz out. So, look, I'm not the hockey expert. I'm not the hockey aficionado when it comes to breaking down who should be fired or who shouldn't be fired. But
even though you just said you have a feeling that he should be on a short leash,
I think he should be done next year.
You the expert? What makes the people trust your opinion?
They shouldn't. They shouldn't trust my opinion when it comes to hockey. But look, as far as the Rangers goes, it was just a massive disappointment. I personally think this was one of the most disappointing ends to a season in recent New York sports history. It really was very.
Really? Where do you rank the Rangers of disappointing seasons in New York history?
I mean, and recent memory of the way it ended, this team had, even though they were not one of the best teams, they had Stanley Cup aspirations. They really did. They were expected to go win a Stanley Cup this season when you make
the Devils were a better team.
But you make the midseason trades of Vladimir Tarasenko and Patrick Kane. There's expectations to at least win a round. And look, they had a 2-0 series lead going back to Madison Square Garden. So it's a collapse by them. And it's going to be a very interesting offseason for the New York Rangers. So we'll see how they do moving forward in the offseason going into next year. But now transitioning a little bit to a fun topic, JessicaAlba, who was at the Knicks game the other night, she has been a social media sensation over the past few days. And it just came out within the past couple of days that SauceGardner of the New York Jets didn't know who JessicaAlba is. Mark, how outraged are you by SauceGardner not knowing who JessicaAlba is?
I'll tell you why I'm outraged. It's because think of how old SauceGardner is. It's not like he was born yesterday. He was born in 2000. And as crazy as that sounds, JessicaAlba was a monster star from probably 2003 to 2009. A huge star. Jared, that is the equivalent of you and I not knowing who Cameron Diaz is. I mean, granted, JessicaAlba was not as big as a movie star as Cameron Diaz. She was still a big and heavy it girl for quite some time. Most people can't name the most famous JessicaAlba movie. Good luck, Chuck, in my opinion. The critics say, and box office's Fantastic Four. But JessicaAlba was still a humongous star for quite some time. He was alive and was well aware of what was going on. I mean, maybe that's why he's such a good football player. Maybe that's why he's an NFL player and we're not, because he wasn't focused on JessicaAlba.
Sauce is also he's a big gamer too, so maybe he just doesn't look up actors and actresses that much, but it's mind-blowing.
Someone at some point must have brought her up.
And and the funniest thing is also how Aaron Rodgers, he's looking at him like, dude, you literally don't know who Jessica Alba is. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has got to be loving. He's probably going through a midlife crisis right now, Aaron Rodgers, because he's the elder statesman coming to the Jets. All these young pups don't even know who anyone is anymore. So it really is crazy to me how he did not know who Jessica Alba is. But personally, my favorite movie that she was in, Little Fockers. I think she had a great role in it. It wasn't the biggest role, but I thought she was fantastic in that movie. So I know you saw Little Fockers, right, Mark?
Yeah, yes, I did see Little Fockers, and to be honest, I completely forgot she was in that movie.
She was the girl who was trying to steal
Yeah, she's a pharmaceutical rep, but yeah, I mean, Good Luck Chuck was her best for me.
Yes, I mean, look, SauceGardner, as long as you're doing well on the football field, we'll be good. But you should get a little more familiar with some pop culture, especially now knowing that your star quarterback is a little bit older than you, and he's probably going to want to have more entertaining conversations with you moving forward. But that's neither here nor there. And that's going to do it for another episode of We're Not Doing a Podcast. For Mark Weber, this is Jared Lee signing off. We'll see you next time.